everyone. Thank you all for attending our first annual, or I guess annual, CAD final project showcase. So, um, kind of a little background on this and kind of how it came to be. So me and well, it actually came from Mr. Bretzker's idea. So he has some experience going through his architecture school, and he suggested that we showcase the students' work. Initially, he thought they wanted to do it in a small classroom environment, and I thought this was, this is the final project for all the students, so we should showcase it to, friends, family, as well as people in the public, and get some feedback from members of the community that work in their area. So that's kind of where this came from. So I don't know much about how this. I've never been through one of these, so this is our first time going through it, right? So we're all going to experience it for the first time. So with that, if Mr. Bretzker would want to come up and I guess give us the rundown on how this is all going to work and everything, and we'll take it from there. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Right. Okay. Here.
Yeah, I think you can.
But I'm not going to use it. Okay. Hello, everybody. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So, I prepared some words. It's a page and a half, right? So please be patient. I will be as brief as possible. My name is Professor Paul Bretzker. I am the teacher of the drafting 2438. So they can, I can, yeah, well, we'll see. I might be too loud or not loud enough. Sure. Okay. Well, that's just about right by itself, I guess. Check 1, 2. Everybody hear me okay? All right. So as I said, my name is Professor Paul Bretzker. I teach the Final Project Advanced Drafting course here at Laredo College. I have some prepared remarks. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to what I hope is the first annual final presentation for DFTG 2438. As I said, Final Project Advanced Drafting. Even though we are a computer-aided drafting or CAD program where we focus on 2D drawing and 3D modeling, as opposed to architectural design, this event is modeled on a long-standing practice in schools of architecture around the world, where the events go by terms like architectural jury and final crit. This event is particularly important in our case because most of the feedback these students, there's 3 of them tonight, most of the feedback they've received in their careers as students here at Laredo College has come from me. Now we have a larger faculty, and so they're getting input from the more recent CAD students are getting input from more other instructors as well. I ask our very accomplished and diverse panel, who I will introduce shortly, to provide input for the students from their new and different perspectives that is different from me. I also hope that the panel will engage with each other, as there is no shortage of issues and matters to discuss regarding the extensive work these students are exhibiting tonight. Before I move to introductions, I want to make some brief statements about the student work. Originally, fearing I had not properly trained the students in architectural design, I created a series of design concepts for them to develop. But that incited a full-on student revolt. As an indication of their passion and initiative, they insisted that they develop their own concepts. When I relented, I was concerned that their work might not properly illustrate the highly advanced skill level they have attained in their relatively short stints as CAD students. It turned out the quality of their final projects disabused me of that concern. So I would like to take this moment to personally congratulate the students on the work they have done in this class, as well as the truly excellent output they have produced for almost 2 academic years now. Also, the setup of this event has required a great deal of effort from what I consider to be a small army of people, mostly in the computer sciences and technology department, whose effort and diligence have frankly left me wondering how I could ever pay them back. I will leave some people out, but I thank Mr. Emmanuel Villanueva, uh, Angelica Angie Cabral, Mr. Professor Taquani Perez, Raimundo Hernandez, who I do not see at the moment, and finally, Ms. Mary Province from the art department. Now, please allow me to introduce our August panel. I ask each of you to stand up briefly when I introduce you. First, Mr. Jorge Borrejo, KCI design engineer and Laredo College adjunct CAD instructor. Next, Ms. Samantha Cigarroa, visual designer, Dear George Studio, Laredo CAD adjunct professor. Professor Hugo Ortega, Laredo College construction management professor. And last but not least, the aforementioned Ms. Mary, or Professor Mary Province, Laredo College professor of art. No, she's not last, excuse me. Yeah, sorry, Mr. Trevino. My apologies, Mr. Trevino. Mr. Angel Trevino, American Institute of Architects, registered architect and principal of his own architectural firm here in Laredo. Before I finally get out of here and let the main event begin, an explanation of the student's assignment is in order. As I indicated, their charge was not specific. They were to produce a design of architectural scale, though not necessarily a work of architecture. It turned out they all produced a work of architecture. Although they have all used and achieved levels of substantial expertise in at least 6 different CAD apps in their studies here, they all chose to use the Autodesk Revit program for this project. For those of you who are not familiar, Revit is arguably not a CAD program, but what we call a Building Information Modeling, or BIM program. These things said, I now introduce our first of 3 students. So, Ms. Alyssa Thomas, please give Ms. Thomas a hand as she. Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Hey, hello everyone. My name is Elisa Thomas, like Professor Bretzker said. Today I'll be presenting my concept for a modern style ranch home. This project is a 2,500 square foot single family home. It's a 2-story design with 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a large loft space. This concept was inspired by modern small home designs that use natural wood materials like red oak or cedar combined with matte black steel panels. This is the first floor plan. The main feature here is the open concept kitchen, dining, and living room area, which creates a more connected, spacious environment. The master bedroom is also located on the first floor, along with the walk-in closet. Inside the walk-in closet is the a washer dryer combo, and the master bedroom also connects to a bathroom, which can be accessed from the hallway. This is the second floor plan. This level includes the loft that's like really spacey that can be used as a guest space as well if you have people staying over. It also includes a guest bedroom, which includes an attic space access through the closet and also a full bathroom. One of the main features is the double doors on the west side that leads out to an L-shaped balcony, which is supported by an 11-inch steel perimeter beam. This is the roof plan. The roof is designed using standing seam pre-finished metal panels with a matte black finish, and it also has pre-finished metal gutters and downspouts on the sides. This is the elevation sheet. It shows the exterior from all the sides of the home. The elevations help communicate the modern style and the balance between wood paneling and the darker steel elements. These are the cross sections of the home, cut across the width of the building. These sections help show the interior layout vertically, including ceiling heights, floor levels, and how the different spaces relate to each other. It also gives a better understanding of how the structure is put together. This sheet shows the longitudinal cross sections cutting through the length of the home. These views highlight more interior details such as the vertical openness of the spaces and architectural features like the arched windows. They also show interior finishes including wood paneling, gypsum walls, helping to communicate the overall look and feel of the interior design. This is a highlight of the interior elevations of the key spaces, including the kitchen, living room, master bedroom. These drawings include dimensions that help show how each space is organized, along with the placement of fixtures, cabinetry, and other interior elements. And here are some interior views. This sheet includes rendered interior views of the living room, kitchen, master bedroom, and the master bathroom. These perspectives help visualize how the spaces feel in real life, including lighting, materials, and the atmosphere. Some more interior views. This sheet shows the loft area, the upstairs bath, and guest room. And here are some photos of what inspired my design. I thought that I would try to kind of recreate it in my own way, but I feel like I got the overall concept, and this is my finished design, or what it's supposed to look like. And that is it.
Excellent job, Alyssa.
Thank you.
I just want to say again, excellent job. Can you put your particularly the exterior elevation up? That would be great. I want to tell the panelists or remind the panelists and the people that if the drawing is not on the screen, it's going to be up on one of these boards that wrap around the room. So Alyssa's work is all over there on that side of the room. I don't know, left, staged right, or whatever. So I wanted to remind people that, and I also I'll ask the first question, Ms. Thomas. I'm wondering if anybody in the Thomas family is a deer hunter.
No, and this is a fictional ranch home because we also do not own a ranch.
First off, I have to say that congratulations on doing such a remarkable project. I actually think that your design looks a lot better than your inspiration images. I think you really blew it out of the water. Um, my one question is just coming from a design perspective, why did you decide to do two different colors on, or one color on the west elevation and a black color on the south, north, and east elevations?
I just felt like it popped more, and black is my favorite color, and I really like the dark design of it. I just thought it looked very sleek and sexy and modern, so that's why I went with that.
One thing to consider in your drawings is whenever you're going to present anything, it's being able to explain why and being able to bring a viewer into that sequence. So, I think that's a really prominent feature that should be emphasized more on your renderings and on your elevations. I also think that if you could explain that design decision a little further and in any of your future designs, as well as the interior. I noticed a lot of deer antlers as decoration, and I noticed a lot of succulents, which all go with a ranch concept. But something to consider is when you're doing design is just being able to think through why you make the decisions you do, and being able to communicate those decisions through drawing.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate the feedback.
Congratulations, Ms. Thomas. Coming from an art background myself and the aesthetics and thinking about using color theory and things like that, I really like that you asked those questions about these color choices. But one of the things that has me kind of intrigued is your use of the window spaces. I notice there's not like a lot of exterior windows, interior windows, but they're large windows. They open up a lot of space that comes in from the outside. So I was wondering if there was any idea behind us to maybe having skylights in there, something from the top. So I was thinking about the size of it being 2,500 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
Would these window spaces be enough to let in enough light that you're wanting in the space, or is that even important?
That is why I did larger windows, just so you could get like a 360 view of the ranch and to let in a lot of natural light. I did not think that maybe like a roof opening would be good just because of the sun. I mean, I already know it's already a black structure, so it's going to be sucking in a lot of sunlight. But no, I thought the windows would be sufficient enough. But I mean, that's a good idea though.
I think that's wonderful because I was curious because you're talking about it being in the ranch, on in a ranch home, having these big bay windows and being able to see the surroundings of nature, that it seems like maybe the sky would also be nice to see also, some kind of opening up to the sky.
I agree.
Be very
that
nice.
is a good idea.
But again, congratulations. I think it's wonderful. I'm looking up all the lines and shapes and the repetition, the pattern work, the symmetry, I think is really nice. There is one other thing because I need to see the interior again to see the windows, why some of them are a little off center and the doors, a little bit. Yeah, so see, that makes a lot more sense to me whenever I get to see the inside of it for sure. So thank you for all of the wonderful printouts as well too, because that's going to help a lot. Thank you.
Well, I think you, excuse my voice, I think you nailed the design intent. I can clearly tell where you got your inspiration from without having to see the reference drawings. It's really good. I like your design. It's very symmetrical and balanced, right? Even to the point where you didn't overhang one of the roofs to cover one of the balconies. If you go back to your section, I know you did it in the front, but the side balcony.
Yes, I know what you're referring to.
Tom, you wanted to keep it. You wanted to keep that balance as well. Right there, the top one. Yeah, so I noticed that. So I was like, okay, so it's very symmetrical. And I like the overall design. I like the height that you gave it. It breathes. It has that high vault ceiling. You know, you thought about how to capture the rain with the gutters and just directing it out of there. You know, you were very thoughtful in everything that you did. I can tell. Even the layout, you used every space possible underneath the stairs. You have a pantry. You didn't waste any space. And even when I'm looking at the loft, I know it's a big open loft, but I can tell you can always add on more rooms, you know, with the space they created, and you want that openness as your family grows. You can add on some rooms. Now, in terms of the drawings, I think they're great. You use the color setting, which is fine. But if you go back to your elevations, sometimes when you use like right here, um, that number 4, I can't tell if the rails are going across that black I guess number 4,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, I completely agree.
Right. But you know, little things, you know, that you can tweak, but overall it's great. I can tell you put a lot of time and effort into the design and the drawings. I like the notes; they're all aligned. You know, in terms of me validating your construction document, everything's aligned. You know, I like everything has a hierarchy. Even your sheets are balanced. You know, it's like your design. Everything's like really well composed in each sheet. So I appreciate you taking the time and doing that. A lot of people don't do that. Even the numbering of it, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's very good. These little details is what I see. You know, what I look for in drawings. You know, it helps tell the story to your target audience, which would be the client and the contractor. Right, the contractor needs to know how to build this, and the client needs to know the design intent. And you called out all the material, you did everything, you know, you did it right. um how did you produce that rendering in the front, or that final rendering? It's a really nice rendering.
So I did the initial rendering in Revit, and then I used AI to
Yeah, just to touch it up. Yeah,
to
I
bring
you know
it to life.
You know what? Some of my clients that come to me, they already bring me AI images of their design intent, which is new to me. And a lot of people are scared of AI. I'm not scared of AI. I think it's a tool that you can utilize as long as you know how to use it to present your story. And you did it well. You did it well. If you use that AI for that, yeah, that's that's exactly how my clients come with some concept, right? It still needs that human interaction, and that's why I don't think it's ever going to take over.
It does.
You need to talk to it, right? You need to tell it what it is and everything. Um, and I think you utilize the tool very well, because I use it too. You know, I use it to do some test renderings just to come up with some concepts, and then from there I take it from there and I evolve it into my own. But for the most part, the AI is very useful, and my clients are all coming with that, at least some type of chat GPT or whatever rendering technique they use. But it's missing doors, it's missing windows. I'm like, how are you gonna enter this? But
Yeah,
at
I
least
just have to tell it a few
yeah.
times, hey,
But
you're missing
but
something.
you talked to it very well. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It depicts everything that your drawings depict. So good job, great job.
Thank you.
Very impressed.
Yeah, excellent work. I'm looking at it in a different perspective. I'm not in the architectural sector. I'm in the engineering and surveying. But generally, when I collaborate with the other consultants, it's my job to understand exactly what I'm reading. And the way you're presenting your drawings, I could clearly see exactly what your building's supposed to look like. I could understand all the dimensions. You have a consistent um, text heights. You and I second everything that the rest of the panelists say. I mean, everything's pretty solid. The numbering. I was going to mention the sheet numbers, but then I started seeing on the next sheets you have sheet numbering. But generally, I mean, as if you would hand me this and I would have to develop a site plan, I could work off of what you presented here today. So great job.
Thank you so much.
Hi, Alisa. My experience, just like Mr. Borrego, correct, is not in the art design uh, scope, but in the construction. And I'm well acquainted with AutoCAD, but not how anyone manages to produce such a incredible rendering that looks so realistic, so alive. To me, this is artful. This is not just drawing or drafting. This is artful. It's amazing how students like you can envision something and put it in. Well, we used to say pen and paper, but this is in a computer, so that anyone can appreciate the tremendous views of everything that is being considered. Again, I'm trying to look for measurements and this and that. I was looking for the slope. Do you have that somewhere yet?
For
typically
the roof,
Yes.
yes, it's up top, the very very top.
Okay, but not in the typical elevation? Okay, I'm always
I
accustomed
missed
to see
that.
it on the
Thank you
elevation.
for pointing it
No,
out.
no, no, no. No, you didn't. It's just that I'm used to seeing it on the elevation and things of that sort. Again, your job is incredible, and to me, it's not lacking anything. It's artful. It's amazing. I definitely must give you my congratulations for such professionalism and being able to do something like this.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Could you go back to that very first rendering?
Second one.
Yes. So one thing that I do want to mention is that Laredo is a very hot climate and we have a lot of sun. And so the one thing that I'm thinking of, like just from a practical standpoint, is using a black material and especially black metal. Um, it's the type of climate where that's gonna absorb a lot of heat. And I think that sometimes when you're designing, we're designing to create something that it intrigues us. It's something you're drawn to. And so you had that inspiration image. But as a starting point, while inspiration images are always a great thing to go to, sometimes, and I mention this because not only is it Laredo, but I'm looking at all the plants that you used on this site, which are local to Laredo. I'm also thinking about local materials. So, if you weren't to use wood and metal, what other materials could you use? Like, what is, and I'm just saying this not as a question to you, but to think about future design projects. Like, what's the vernacular architectures? So historically, what does our architecture look like? And our architecture looks a certain way because of our environment. And so, just for future projects, think about where the design is coming from. Um, is it rooted to place? We have a lot of sandstone here. Could you use sandstone in the construction? Could you use materials that maybe have you see a lot of stucco, you see a lot of CMU, something with more thermal mass, just from a standpoint of just using materials that are maybe local to Laredo. If you're doing a ranch, is there anything that draws on the ranch concept? We live in a really hot and arid climate. Well, it's pretty arid. Is there a way to harvest rainwater? Just think, or is there a way to create some sort of a breezeway just to have architectural elements that really suit our climate? So it's a beautiful design again, but I just mentioned this for future design thinking for any future projects you may have. So just thinking about where the design comes from and the intention of it. It doesn't have to come from the things I'm saying, but wherever it is you draw your inspiration from, be sure to communicate it in the design drawings. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else or?
I wanted to mention, I really appreciate the detail that you went into. I mean, I've done a lot of work where I never draw the rain gutters. You need rain gutters and downspouts, and so you did that, and so that's really great. It's sort of developed recently that a lot of us in the computer sciences department, in the prevent him from getting done. And we talk about AI and its ramifications and how a lot of it is trash, right? AI slop. It looks to me like you've used AI the way it should be used. It looks like you've developed your Revit model and you had AI embellish your Revit model a little bit. And there's nothing that I see particularly phony or wrong or anything like it back. So I think you use AI with some restraint, which is something that more people who use AI should think about. I think we should appreciate that. And I know you can't show it, but I'd be interested to see in what your Revit rendering looked like before you put it the AI on. So I know you don't have that, but that would be awesome. Thank you.
No, I do not. Uh-huh.
I've always asked, what were some of the challenges in using the software to create this?
There were a lot.
I know you have an endless list, but what was the main one that you were like, oh, I can't get this, you know?
So definitely creating the roof, that was not easy. That's a whole thing you need to YouTube and figure out.
Yeah.
But also the coloring, it does not. So here on the computer, you can see the paneling. Here, it does not translate at all.
Mm-hmm.
But to switch the colors is also not an easy task to do. So
I mean, there's 4 options, right? That you can make it consistent to shaded and
exactly.
realistic.
So I had to switch between all of them to see which one looked better, and I had to try to make it all look consistent. So. And
then there's another button where you can find course.
Yes.
Detail.
I was
clicking
all of them to try to see which one looked great.
Yeah. But no, they look great. I was struck with the stairs and the ratings. Those are just a monster. And how challenging was to get that bend on that gutter?
And that was challenging.
I've been there.
Time, but I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get it. So I think it came out great.
I've been there too. I was like, oh, it won't bend. It won't give me the angle that I want.
Yeah.
You know. So I feel your struggle. You know. That's why I'm asking this. You know. These are all common learning curves using the software.
Yeah, exactly.
But at the end, you get that 3D model.
Well, the railing was not easy.
Yep.
It was not easy to figure out, but
yeah. And then, how much of this did you customize, and how much of this is stock? You know, anything that you can say, I customized this family or this component.
No, I did not customize. Well, you know what? I tried to customize the cabinets as much as I could because they only give you so many options.
Correct.
But that's about it. Everything else I found online, which is really good because it translated really well, I think. But
I could not find any antlers. I did
those are the only ones I could.
On a private ranch in Austin, I did a banquet hall with a full blown commercial kitchen, and they wanted it country, and they have exotics there, and I was trying to find something to put on top of the fireplace mantle. I just gave up. I could not find anything, but I'm glad you were able to find something that works well. But thank you for explaining that. You know, it really shows that you customize some things, and you did encounter challenges that everybody encounters using the software. But once you get it right, you can spin it, show it, dissect it to anybody without worrying about having to redraw them.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much. Does anybody else have any comments or questions? Okay, so we could talk forever about this, and that's probably going to be true with everybody's project, but I think my fellow architects, Mr. Trevino and Ms. Figueroa, probably agree with me that one of the things that happens sometimes is that we spend an hour and a half on the first one, and then the last people to present, you know, only get 5 minutes or something. So if there's no more comments or questions, I'd like to thank Alyssa and thank the panel for their comments. And let's move on to our next presenter, our second of third students, a second of 3 students. Ms. Cassandra Pena, who I'm used to calling Cassie. This is about the right length for me. Oh. You're right.
Well, hello. My name is Cassandra Pena, and this is Skate Laredo. So Skate Laredo is a skating rink. The main point is to skate, but it has other spaces of other uses. The goal of my building was to create a community-focused environment that feels open, easy to navigate, and engaging for a wide range of users. So here I am showing the roof structure. So this is designed to span the large skating area efficiently while minimizing interior columns, so that way the space could still feel open and there could be easier flow around it. Then here is my floor plan, where we can see that the skating rink is the center idea of the project, while having supporting functions like an arcade, a dining area, as well as a billiard room. Here I have my elevations. This is the south and north elevations. And then here are the east and west elevations. Just to show the simplicity of the shape, I wanted to keep it simple, a large rectangular building. Here are some of my sections. This would be the south and north section. And here it shows off a little bit more of the roof structure. And here is the east and west section. And then here I just have some interior views going around the skating area. And here are more interior views of the billiard room, the arcade, and the dining area. And then here is a detail sheet just to explain the structural components of the beams going across, as well as the CMU insulated walls. And overall, Skate Laredo is designed to balance activity and social space with a clear layout that supports both movement and interaction, with a strong central focus to create an engaging user experience. Thank you.
Hi, good job on this project. I like that you created a big open space and used, large span for it. You mentioned that you wanted the design to just be a simple rectangle, and I'm wondering why.
I felt like a simple rectangle would help with how big the space is. Also because I wanted other factors to kind of like the color of the building to stand out a lot, as well as the roof to stand out more than the actual shape of the walls in the building.
Could you also go to page 6, the elevations? Or sorry, page 4? Yes. So I guess my main observation is, if you didn't have the Skate Laredo sign, I wouldn't really know that it's an ice skating or a skating rink. And yet you do have this big window on the facade, and something that I think could potentially, like an opportunity to highlight the main building program, which is skating. You could use the window to highlight that. So I noticed that you have it on the south elevation, but if you were to do something on the east or west, you'd have more of an opportunity to highlight the skating and maybe make it more of a design feature, so that people driving by will know it's a skating rink without having to read the sign. And the other thing that I'm seeing, this is just technical, but if you, can you go back to your perspective? It's an interior perspective. Yeah, so I think I'm only seeing one window, and I'm wondering if there's opportunities to bring light through that structure. So maybe, instead of having a solid ceiling, maybe it has some openings that can bring light to the interior because it's such a big span. And if you have light only at one end of the room, it just starts to feel a lot darker going towards the back. And so it'll create, it'll add more light to the interior. It'll make a more dynamic interior. And, maybe rethinking that south window to highlight what's going on inside could potentially be, a move to just be able to show, just to be able to highlight the purpose of the building.
Congratulations, Ms. Pena. Personally, I'd like to see that building just, right up the street, if you don't mind, so we can all go skating sometimes, right? And take me back to the 80s and 90s, please. But since we're right here on this image, for me, it's a little bit of a challenge for me to see some of the space only because of the color choices. The way that it harmonizes or doesn't harmonize, can sometimes throw off the illusion of the space. So when you're wanting to have something like very spacious, not very often to use dark colors. You want to think of something, with brighter colors, right? So people can really get the feeling for it. So I'm kind of in the same boat with Ms. Figueroa about, having a little bit more lighting in there. But it could just be because of the color scheme that was chosen here that makes it feel smaller than what you're trying to convey because you're wanting it to be this big open concept. But can we kind of skim through like some of the other colors again that you had in the images? Yeah, like right there. When you use those dark colors, it has visual weight. So things have a tendency to appear smaller. And so to maybe whenever you're conveying this information to use brighter values, maybe keep that lilac color, of course, but maybe not such an intense fluorescent purple, that fuchsia color kind of threw it off a little bit because I was like, what is that line there for? I wasn't quite sure because everything looks so tiny, the darker colors you have. So maybe flip it or something. I don't know, but that's just me personally, again, because it kind of throws off the illusion of the open space that you're trying to give visually for me. But other than that, I really would like to see that. Anybody want to make a bid to have that thing built, so we can go ice skating and stuff year round would be nice. Thank you very much, Ms. Pena.
Definitely 80s vibe. I think you nailed it. Yeah. Something I would see in Stranger Things, I like. Can you go back to the facade, the colored version? That's a good one right there as well. It's you definitely selected the right kind of structure for this long span. Just the anything that's curved like that will give you longer spans. So if you wanted to avoid columns, you definitely did it. You selected the right type of structure. Can you go to the did you by any chance, okay, so by any chance, did you do a 3D elevation showing the interior? Or you just put views? Oh, there you go.
I have interior views.
Go to so there's something that you could have also done. I like these views, in the 3D section, there's a button that's called a section box. And you can select that section box and chop your building up. You can I don't know if you're familiar with the section box in 3D. So just for future references, it's a really cool button. You get the section and you can chop it up to where you want to show it and do a 3D axonometric view. So you can chop it up or cut it at a floor plan elevation and a 3D elevation to show the interior. I think that's the only thing you're lacking here, just to show that axonometric inside view of it, because everything's modeled 3D. I can tell everything's in 3D. Some of these views just don't show you that perspective that it really deserves. It's really nice. I like the building, and it's a big volume space, right? And I think by using that feature, you could have shown it in greater detail, right? But for the most part, you nailed all the renderings. They look nice. The sections are there. You're calling out all the material. There's a hierarchy. Uh, but I do agree, maybe some more windows or some skylights, just so it can penetrate and give you some more. Because what happens when you have only one side showing windows? There's glare and contrast that you're gonna have to deal with. It's like looking at a screen and then having a window that's to the outdoors. When you look at the window and the screen, it's just the darkness to that glare and that really gets to your eyes. So I can kind of feel it in some of these views that I would get some of that glare. But for the most part, you did a great job. I like the design. You nailed it. If you're going for that feeling, you nailed it. I like 80s vibe, great job. You did a good job.
Yeah, excellent work. So again, I'm gonna put it in the perspective of me receiving an architectural layout and trying to dissect dissect it to make it, to help me work on what I need to work on. Can you go to the sections real quick? So one thing that is helpful when I see things like this, or actually if you go to the next one, is I'm not sure if Angel, if you're saying the same thing, but perhaps using what we call match lines. So maybe cut that in half. That way you have the opportunity to zoom in a little bit more onto each side of your section view. That way you could see a little bit more detail and things like that. Overall, I think it's great, but if you're able to zoom in a little bit more, I think match lines will definitely help out in that situation. As Can you go to the floor plan? So yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, you got all the dimensions around. So if I simply just read all the dimensions around, I know it's just a simple rectangle, but I mean, if you're calling out ends to ends, so I could simply take that, put it on my layout, and start doing the parking lot and all the sites, making sure that we have accessibility, things like that, and then surveying wise, being able to place it wherever it needs to go. As far as structural goes, I think your choice of the building type is definitely the correct one because you have such a big open space. You really nailed it on the building type choice. But yeah, in general, this is pretty good. And again, I'll back up the funding for this if anybody wants to pitch in. We definitely need one of these in Laredo.
Cassandra, amazing work that you have done indeed here. How did it occur to you to think of such a gigantic project to draw?
I knew that I wanted to do something more like fun that I would have wanted to see. So when I thought of a skating rink, a lot of other stuff also came into mind, like the billiards room, an arcade. So I was like, why not make the main focus to be a skating rink, but have it big enough to have other things as well. So that's why I wanted to make it at such a big scale.
And how long did it take you to come up with such a drawing?
Well, I believe we had 4 weeks to do this.
That's it? 4 weeks?
Yes, a little more.
Okay. I do agree with some of the previous comments as far as putting windows in some other sites instead of just one or two particularly. And in this floor plan, which I cannot see so well because of the magnitude of the project, where are the restrooms?
The restrooms? I could go ahead.
I'm telling you because people my age, that's the first thing we look for.
Yes.
That's it. Where is the restroom? And if I sit too far from the restroom, I'm in trouble. So,
These would be the restrooms.
okay,
right?
there they are. Okay. All right, all right, all right. Amazing work. Now, the roof. What do you call that roof design?
I did a barrel roof.
What?
A barrel roof?
Okay. And what components does it take to build such a roof?
So for the barrel roof, because of how long it is or wide it is, it needs the structure. I did a steel beams covered in sheetrock, so that way it could hold up the roof.
Okay, and this steel beams to Mr. Trevino probably they already come in that shape you would figure. They're designed to be just without any further members. Oh, okay, which cannot be seen. Okay, all right. Yeah, those are the things that I'm typically looking for as far as boy, if I had to build this thing, what's it gonna take? And what is the reason for the drywall on the beams?
The drywall on the beams is just so that way it could have more of like a cleaner look and it won't show the
Okay.
like all the trusses, like how it looks.
No, that is amazing, and quite sincerely, I had not thought of it, and that is simple solution per se to make it really look aesthetic. Congratulations, your the way you think and the way you can think of a project and actually put it here into a plan. It's amazing. Congratulations to you. Your work is fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I believe every time I click escape, it just goes there.
Yes.
And by the way, I think, as it turns out, I think these might be your strongest images. Now, this project brought up the color matter, and so here the colors are lighter, right? And so this feels more spacious.
Well, there's more lilac, there's more purple, you know, that lighter purple, which helps with the space. Yeah. Yeah. When you have too much dark, it seems to overpower that.
But this image is more positive than that.
Absolutely. I just had one more question because Mr. Ortega brought up bathrooms. I just have to ask about the storage because you have a lot of different activities that are going to be going on in this building. Are the storage units going to be outside? Or are they already in the floor plan somewhere?
I do have one big storage unit inside of the building. It would be right behind the bathroom, so it would be a hall to go there.
Okay.
But I would most likely have the different storage units outside of it just because of how many rooms this already takes up.
Yeah, and then also there's also, because you're dealing with skating, you know, there's the risk factor, right? Risk management. And so to have like a little first aid unit somewhere close by, is that also located in here too?
Not specifically for that. I do have separate offices, like rooms that maybe could be used as that.
And like the security cameras and things like that, because you know you are dealing with like a large public realm, and so you have to take all of those safety parameters, you know, for handicap spacing and things like that too. So I was just curious because me personally, I would be way out of practice and I would fall down a lot, and so I would probably need to know exactly where the nurse's station is, that it's close by.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for bringing
you.
that to my attention.
Could you go back to that interior elevation that shows the structure? The purple one. So I love how on the farthest end, for the arcade and for all the program that goes along the side of the building. I love that you scaled it down with smaller trusses so that it doesn't feel overwhelming, and it just creates contrast between those rooms at the end and then coming out to this large just this large skating space. Just feeling that difference of scale, I think, was a really good design move. So I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you. Cassie, one of the things I want to mention, could you go towards the end where you have interior perspectives? So there's a lot of detail there. Keep going. Yeah, so she, as you can see, she didn't talk much about it, I don't think, but you can see she, well, like Alyssa, put in a lot of detail here. So there's a lot of stuff going on in something like this. So yeah, you've all brought up there. Buildings are complex, and big buildings are bigly complex. But I think you at least started to address those matters, and I really appreciate the level of detail that you put into it, and the farther you go into your drawings, the more that's evident. Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you very much, Cassie. Good job. So then, our third and final student is George Cordero.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jorge Cordero. I also go by George. I came up with the design of Gateway City Museum. We live right on the border, and we were previously part of a different country to our south, Mexico. And I believe it's for the better of our city to know the backstory, the behind of our city, what it used to be once and what it used to house. And so I believe it is it is good to know what used to be Laredo, and especially right here, Laredo College, used to seem very different. It used to have a very different look and feel to the way how Laredo has evolved to today from how we looked back, 100 years ago. Here we have my floor plan. It is a 50 by 106 space. It can house multiple artifacts, big and small. And we have display cases that can house very small artifacts, such as old, machinery that used to be created when our ancestors were helping build Laredo. And we also have bigger platforms that can house, I guess, military instruments and cannons and stuff like that to show how when we had battles close by when we were separating away from Mexico and becoming Laredo. Here we have several views displaying different images, different pictures of what Laredo used to be and visitors and how we started. If we see to the top left, oh, I'm sorry, to the right, Laredo National Bridge, that was our only passage to Mexico at the time. As to now, we have several bridges that we can use. We also have in picture number 4 presidents and leaders visiting at the time. So here, I believe we have in this picture right here, we have here with the leaders of Laredo for a better tomorrow. At the beginning, the reception area at the front, I'm sorry, we also have our logo displaying our famous bridge and our Cathedral San Agustin that is downtown. And here we have an older picture that is how San Agustin was started to how it looks today. Very different, very more modern as well. And it also houses a lot of its older pieces of when it was first built. Here we have an east and west elevation, also displaying some windows that we have for the offices to receive some sunlight, and also just to look out into the Rio Grande and the outlet shops of Laredo. In picture number 1, we have the south view of the museum. As you can see right here, facing towards the border to the Rio Grande and to Mexico. It also comes with state-of-the-art bulletproof windows for the safety of all our visitors and our workers there. Given that it's super close to the river, we also know the conditions of how it is to our fellow families to the south, and the violence that goes on every day. And cam interior number 2, it also displays how wide our museum is. It is a relatively small space, but it can also house a lot of visitors and art and exhibits as well. It also shows how our office spaces can be used by a director's office in cam number 3 right there, and also cam number 4 for our employees. Cam number 5 shows how we have a unloading area, also an artifact prepare station before it is displayed, so it can be in its best shape and be ready for the public to see. Here I have section number 3 displaying our beams that will support also hanging exhibits that we can bring in when Laredo College, what used to be an active military base, there used to be, there was also fighter jets passing by Laredo every so often, very often, when we also had an active military airport. It can also house jet engines, jet equipment that can also show the history of Laredo of when we used to see those every single day being used here in Laredo. And that is all for my display today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, George. Would anyone on the panel like to start? Thank you.
Hi, George. So I loved your design, and I love that you decided to do a gallery, especially a gallery that represents us as a border city, as a gateway city. I love that you decided to use a wood truss because it kind of adds to, what's the word, the history of it, the historicity of it. And I also like that you, if I'm looking at the drawings correctly, that are printed out, you chose a green ceiling color. Is that correct? Yeah, and I like that that ties into Laredo College, assuming that it's a museum on site, because it really roots it to the place, and it shows these design decisions that you made that are, rooted in our history, rooted on our campus. I also noticed that you did well with the way you decided to where you decided to place windows. Because it's artwork, I noticed that you have windows on the north facade, which is a really good place to put them because north light's always indirect light, and so it's actually good for art, whereas east-west light has direct sunlight. And I noticed that the windows that you used for east-west were in the bathrooms rather than in the gallery space, and that's a good design move to protect the artwork. So I just thought those were great design decisions. So one thing I will say is that I noticed you talking a lot about the exhibit, but I want to hear more about the building. So the same way that you talk, just the same way that you point out the historicity of those things, I'd like to hear about the design decisions you made more in that way. While I do think it's great that you talk about the art, you know, your building's just so great that I'd like to hear about it in as much detail as you're talking about the artwork. The other thing that I wanted to see is the materials that you were thinking about, because you know, I'm seeing representations for wood and I'm seeing, you know, the green ceiling, but I almost just want to see more of a rendering just to see what that lighting looks like in there because it's an art gallery.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much.
That'd be my only comment, but I do think you have a great design here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I think that's your, well, the panel can ask you to go somewhere else, but I think this is the best single image, and I think it basically describes the whole design, more or less, in that one image.
I'm glad that you came back to this image because you were talking about having things that would be suspended from the ceiling. And of course, we always have to take into account the weight of what's being suspended, right? And so running the gallery myself, we have like portable walls, you know, that are here on campus. So, you know, you can think about having those kinds of walls that can be moved around because, you know, the difference between having a museum setting versus a gallery setting, your museum settings, of course, are more permanent, you know, and that historical aspect. So your structure itself, you know, would need to be more stable, obviously. But in a gallery setting, you may have to move some things around, yes, right? Because you have things that are coming in and things that are getting rotated out. And so those walls you have extended out, those are permanent structures?
Yes, ma'am. At the moment, they are permanent structures.
Okay, because for me, again, that would be obviously where you would want to have a more permanent exhibit, you know, because of the installations that would be put in there, right? For sure. Because, you know, your space, of course, is going to matter on what's being stored in there, for sure. But if you're going to suspend things from the ceiling, again, you know, if you're talking about weaponry, right, those types of things, I'm not an expert when it comes to like what kind of materials you would use, but have you given thought as to what would be ideal for that kind of weight that you're talking about?
Yes, definitely. So our beams can definitely sustain a great amount of weight. They are metal steel beams and they are encased in wood, engineered wood, just for the aesthetic and the look of the building.
Okay, that's good to know because that's always the first thing that we worry about whenever we're exhibiting is like, can that hang from the space and not cause any issues, you know, to the structure itself?
Yes, ma'am. No, those are steel beams encased in wood just for the look of the building but I can assure that they can hold a greater weight than their appearance.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Well, you definitely know the design of a museum. I feel without even having to know anything about it, just this view says it all. It reminds me of the one that we have downtown. I forget, is it Performing Arts Theater or um, Center for the Arts? I can't, Center for the Arts, right? Center for the Arts. I was getting confused, but it does have that vibe. I don't know if you've been to it, but that's kind of the way the vibe of the look of this interior spaces. I like they use these trusses. They're beautiful, you know, and you encase them in wood. I agree on the movable walls. You do need them. For the most part, you have a large space that could be flexible, but you always want to have some partitions that are movable just because of the rotating art. You never know what you're gonna get. Every month or every year, you rotate it out. Sometimes they need a wall, sometimes they don't. So it's always good to have that flexible space. But for the most part, you did provide a large volume, you know, which is what you need. Um, and you did a great job on presenting your design. And not only I wasn't expecting to have a history lesson as well. So it seems like you did a deep dive into that. And also in portraying those images, right? I'm pretty sure you did some deep dive research and try to get the correct images that conveys, you know, or solidifies the design intent of this museum. But great job. I do agree there are some my only critique would be add more descriptions of the material, right? Because you nailed the design. You talked about everything down to the bulletproof facade, right? That's facing the border. it would have been nice to convey it also, maybe a couple of just one note or two on some of the drawings. But for the most part, you did a great job. I like the design. It is a museum, even though the content they used there. Um, how did you add those images in Revit? You use a decal tool? And then
No, I was able to just
insert the
insert the images.
insert the images?
Yes, sir.
Did a good job.
Yes.
That's always a task on how to show those with this software, but you did a good. Everything's shown well. Great job.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, good job on your inspiration here. So I guess generally, good job on everything. The only comments I have is just small things. I know this is a presentation, but when you print it out, it might be that the text might be a little bit too big eventually. But it's kind of hard to get that as a beginning CAD tech. Once you start printing out stuff, you'll start seeing, okay, using maybe a 3 size text is too big. If you go and excuse my lack of architectural language, can you go to the other interior views? So, and the one before, yeah. So right here, I mean, the numbering is just little things, but it's pretty important to be consistent. I saw that the numberings, you had number 1 at the bottom, number 2, and then 3, 4 on the top, and then if you go to the next one, you usually start the number 1 at the top, and so it's small little details like that that could definitely somebody that doesn't understand too much architecture will help them out. And I'm putting it into that perspective. I'm not too familiar with the whole architectural design and stuff, but small things like that, somebody like me would notice that real quick, and that'll kind of throw me off. Like, when you're reviewing plans, you kind of have a groove. It's like you're going through sheet to sheet, and then if one of them like throws you off, it's like, whoa, like you start thinking about like, oh, maybe I missed something, and the other ones, things like that. But just keep in mind when you're putting your plans together or your presentation to look for those small details. That's all I have to add. Just pay attention to how you're organizing your sheets, and I think all in all, this was a good presentation.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for pointing out that defect right there. I will definitely fix that. Thank you.
Jorge, once again, amazing work. If we can go to the perspective view, that is amazing. That it really makes me wonder, makes me really appreciate the art that you put into this thing, into this 3D rendering, into this perspective view, and then onto my building side of looking at things. Yes, I do wonder whether those trusses sit on the exterior walls or whether there should be a column holding them, so that something should hold those trusses, right? I'm asking you, do they sit on the exterior walls?
Yes, they do sit on the walls, and within the walls there are beams. There are steel beams holding those up as well.
Okay, all right. So again, this is an amazing drawing. Can we go a little further? Okay, on that drawing right there, on the roof plan, I cannot tell much. I'm accustomed to seeing some sort of rafter layout. Again, I know this is not about that, but that roof plan does not shows me much. Meaning, perhaps what is it going to, what's the roof material going to be, and things of that sort. And if we go to an elevation, one that shows the front elevation. Okay, I'm again, I'm so accustomed to see some sort of slope indication as to what this roof is going to be. To me, it looks like, I don't know, 6 on 12, 7 on 12, or something like that. What is the slope of this particular project, if you know it?
At the moment, I don't, sir.
Okay, no big deal at all. It's just that every front elevation I see, I typically tell my students, guys, look for the slope, because we're going to be the ones building it. Again, on a floor plan, I'm accustomed to see at least some dimensions. Can you tell me what are the overall dimensions of this project?
Yes, it's 50 feet by 106 feet.
There it is. There it is. Yeah, it's got them. You know, so once again, your job and the vision that you're using, it's exemplary. I congratulate you for being so incredibly tune into a project. I always envy the architects and architects to be as to how they can think of things that are obviously non-existent at all, and it begins with an idea and then putting it into a rendering and then eventually into a gigantic set of plans. Thank you, sir. Congratulations to you. You're doing amazing work.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
I'd like to just add one more thing here. If we just look at the floor plan, I mean, you could see that some of the dimensions are kind of off from the middle. Either I would suggest either move them to the side completely or try to center that a little bit more. Right now, I'm just looking at general presentation of your text, and you could definitely use more consistency. The 5 feet, I understand that that's for the window, but how far is it away from the edge of the building?
Yes, sir.
Also, I like that you put the room names, but those could either be a little bit bigger or maybe perhaps abbreviated, and perhaps maybe use a legend also. But generally, it's just pay attention to the consistency of your texts and your labels, and I think, but generally, it'll pretty much make your plan more understandable to somebody like me and this.
Trust. What is that? The trust design. So now it's everywhere, which is so good looking. Does he have a name?
The common, I believe it's a common trust. Yeah, it's typical that you see in a lot of timber. Yeah, yeah, it's yeah, it's very nice. Yeah, especially when you say you wrap it around with wood, it makes it pop more. It's a really nice.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
It's 50 feet, so it's a big. It's both good looking and necessary.
Yes, ma'am.
I just have one more comment. If you could go back to the roof plan.
Yes.
So like Mr. Ortega said, there's not a lot of detail there. And I'm looking at the print and I'm also having trouble seeing detail there. And so whenever you do a portfolio, just keep in mind that you'll have an electronic portfolio and you're going to have a print portfolio. And there's going to be people looking at it and wanting to see information. So just keep in mind how something will look on a screen and be sure that you tweak it somehow to where it's easily legible.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
how it looks in print, because it may look different, so that whoever's looking at your design will get all the information they need in whatever medium they're looking at it in.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for that input. I will take that into consideration.
Okay. I think Mr. Brutzker is on his way back. Okay. No, you're good.
Um, I want to say a few things. First thing about the text size. I have to take some responsibility for that because I asked the students to make the text larger than they would for this presentation format than they would for construction documents, where you're reading it like a book. It's just a few inches from your eyes. So some of the largeness of the text is possibly just George following what I asked him to do. So that's partly, at least, or not completely, my fault. But this brings up a whole other issue in something like this, where when I was in school, well, we didn't have any dimensions on our drawings. They were just conceptual design. And now with CAD, it's so easy to create drawings. You just click on 2 points and the dimension appears. So there's this, in my mind, there's this dilemma. Obviously, dimensions are informative and necessary when it comes to construction. But when it comes to conceptual design, we used to think, well, they're ugly, so we're moving here sort of from conceptual design into what we call design development. So that's a dilemma to discuss, for this format. We're presenting a conceptual design, but we also want to show that we're trying to be realistic about it. So we're kind of caught in between those two areas.
That's understood. I mean, this type of renderings and some of it being 3D and such is not going to have dimensions. It doesn't really fit to have dimensions. They are not necessary at this point. I'm just used to seeing any floor plan. I do look for at least the overall size of it, and in a roof, there's possibly the slope, and possibly somewhere is going to tell me what the cladding material is going to be for any one building. That's about it. I definitely agree with not putting dimensions on a 3D rendering or anything as such. You'll have your architectural drawings and your engineering drawings and everything else with all kinds of dimensions. I definitely agree with your comments, sir.
I agree with your comments too.
Okay.
I will also sort of make a mea culpa in that when we rehearsed this event a week ago, and we noticed, of course, that the drawings look different pinned up in the room than they do on a computer monitor. And one of the things we noticed, of course, was that when you put color, because in architecture, for various reasons, one of them might be simply photocopying expense. We usually don't need color. So in this case, yeah, the roof plan it looks like just a green rectangle. And that's another thing where George is probably doing what I asked him to do, which was to put more color into it so that it would show up better. But in this case, in the roof, it works well, I think, in the floor plan, but it doesn't work very well in the roof plan. So that's something we could look at moving forward.
Yeah, just think of our comments as kind of slight real world experiences. You will be getting questions like this when you're actually doing these works. For example, if I was trying to redraw this, and it's very important for an engineer to know where exactly the door is at, because we need to match that elevation to be able to access that door.
Exactly.
And so to have a dimension from the edge of the building to the door will definitely help us. But just think of our feedback from an engineering and a construction standpoint as a little taste of what the real world is going to be all about. We're going to be asking you these questions because at the end of the day, we're going to have to go off of what the building is going to be, all about. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
As far as dimensions go, I think you need to think about who your audience is. And so, we're a panel of architects, engineers, artists, construction managers. And so, maybe I'm looking at it from a conceptual viewpoint, whereas Mr. Ortega is looking at it for construction details. And so, but again, if you're showing a portfolio to somebody, you're going to show something different to an employer than you are in architecture school. So if you're applying to school, you want to show the concepts. So maybe the dimensions don't matter as much. But if you're going to be applying to work, you want to be able to show more technical skills. And maybe that's where you start showing more details, like the dimensions. So, the type of drawing you're presenting depends on the audience you're presenting to. So that's just something to keep in mind as well.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so these are all very good comments. And like I said, I'm glad that the students are getting input from someone other than myself. So are there any other questions or comments? If there are no more questions or comments, then I would like to thank George.
Thank you.
And I would like to congratulate all the students on their work. Like I said, I was nervous at the beginning of this, bringing in an audience, but when they turned in these drawings to me, I stopped being nervous. Very good job. And if there are no more questions or comments, let's eat.